Welcome to the Martin Bailey Photography Podcast. It's March 21, 2023, and this is episode 808. This week we start what will probably be a three-part series to walk you through my second Japan Winter Wildlife Tour and Workshop for 2023. The first of these two tours was very productive. I came home with around 180 images that I really liked. That's a good crop, but for the second tour, I came home with 100 more images than that, a whopping 280 photos that I was happy with. And of course, that is while being very selective and whittling down my selection a number of times. I have done these trips many times before, and I often find it difficult to raise the bar, but some opportunities on this particular trip enabled me to do just that. As usual, we started with 3 days at the Snow Monkeys. The staff at the Snow Monkey Park were calling me the Snowman because they'd had very little snow throughout the season, but a good snowfall shortly before my group arrived on both visits. Unfortunately, we didn't get any falling snow with the monkeys, but there was enough snow on the ground to enable some beautiful shots. It was also, on average, around 5 degrees colder than usual, which gave rise to the first shot that I wanted to share today. And this is one of those shots that I feel will remain a firm favourite over the years. When it's cold, we tend to get more mist rising off the warm water in the pool that the snow monkeys bathe in. This is challenging from a photography's perspective because quite often the mist hides the face of the monkeys. But if you're patient, there are patches of clarity that move through the mist, and you can time your shot so that just the monkey is visible through the mist. The other difficult thing, of course, is finding a monkey doing something interesting for your photo. I was incredibly fortunate on this visit to find this monkey with its feet up on a small stepping stone just below the surface of the water, resting its hands on its feet while looking upwards slightly. This came together to give the monkey a contemplative gaze in what would seem to be an idyllic environment, although harsh because of the cold, which is necessary to form the mist. I called this image, "Does it get better than this?" as a question. I tried to avoid sharing similar images, but I got a second image of the same monkey shortly after this, which I called, "It doesn't get better than this," without the question mark, as this monkey is no longer asking. It knows that it just doesn't get better than this. The question and the answer in 2 photos. I continued to have a little fun with my image captioning as I called this next photo Jack Monkeyson, because I thought the maniacal smile looked a little bit like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. This also shows the monkey in the relatively deep snow beside the hot spring pool. Another opportunity that I have not seen before was this Japanese kamoshika or sero, which is a kind of antelope, and it was walking around in the snow on the side of the valley where the path down to the hot spring pool is. I often see these animals on the other side of the valley, and they usually are so far away that they require an extender to even really see them in the frame. On this day, I was able to shoot this Sero at 500mm and almost fill the frame with them, as you can see in this photo. This guy got so close as he walked around that I could get a portrait again at 500mm, but this time with only half of his body filling the frame. A somewhat strange-looking creature that I've often photographed but rarely shared images of because it was always so far away and in surroundings that didn't do it any justice. Being able to photograph it so close like this, or surrounded by snow, as in the previous frame, was enough to make it worth sharing these images. Another shot that I wanted to share is a bit of a cheat on my part. As we held up our cameras framing up a monkey sitting on top of a rock, I noticed its foot slip, which led to the monkey jumping off the rock with lots of falling snow around it, and I got 2 frames that contained most of the action, but I hadn't zoomed out enough to get the entire monkey in a single frame. I cropped the foot off the monkey in one shot and its hand in the second shot. So I stitched the 2 frames together and essentially grafted the hand of the monkey onto the shot where I had its feet in the frame. This is the resulting image. It's not great quality, but I kind of like the feel of the falling snow and the pose of the monkey as it half falls through the air. After 3 days with the monkeys, we drove back to Tokyo and headed over to Hokkaido on the 4th morning of the tour. We started with 2 days of photographing the elegant and beautiful red crown cranes, and as I often do, while we had one of the many lulls in the action, I shot some portraits of the cranes, of which this is one of my favourites. In the afternoon, on the first day in Hokkaido, we also visited the Ural Owl and found the owl resting. I was lucky enough to notice him yawn shortly before we left, which made a nice change. To protect the owl, we shoot this guy from quite a distance, so I used my 2x extender on the 100 to 500mm lens for a 1000mm focal length. We went to a different crane location after the owl, but we'll skip those shots for now, as we were treated with a little falling snow the following morning. So although it wasn't cold enough for the hoarfrost on the bridge in Tsurui, we got some beautiful shots of the cranes in the snow shortly after breakfast. In this first shot, the snow is just setting in, but I love the pose of these 2 cranes, both arching their necks back while puffing up their wings in unison, right down to the angle of their back legs. The snow got a little heavier as I captured these 2 cranes singing and strutting together, and heavier still for a landscape orientation shot of another pair singing together, although not in perfect step this time. To freeze both the snow and the motion of the birds, I used a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second, and I stopped down my aperture to f13 to ensure that both birds were sharp. Many wildlife photographers automatically shoot with their aperture wide open, but if you do that with 2 large birds like this, only one of them will be in crisp focus, and I don't like to see that. I've gone through these pretty quickly, so here is one last image taking us to 12 images for this first episode of the series. And here we can see the behind of one of this pair of courting cranes, showing, as I often quiz my tour guests, that the cranes' tails are white. In most photos it looks like the red crown cranes have black tails, but the black is actually the flight feathers along the back edge of their wings. I also like how there is a bit more of a landscape behind the birds in this shot too. The regular enclosure doesn't have this kind of feature, like the grasses and the bough of the tree on the left, and I think that these add some nice context to the winter scene that these birds are so at home in. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there for part 1 of this series, and we'll pick up the trail next week with some more crane shots before we move on to the Hooper Swans and then on to the Sea Eagles again, both of which continue to provide some spectacular opportunities this year. If you might like to join us in 2024 or a future trip, please check out the tours page at mbp.ac/tours, which at a glance tells you the availability left on each tour, and you can click on the tour graphic to jump to the tour page for full details and to book your place. I hope to see you there. Thanks very much for listening today. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon, which comes with various benefits depending on your contribution, from basic support and access to the MBP community forum to full-blown photography mentorships. For further details, check out our Patreon page at mbp.ac/Patreon. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, and links to everything that I'm up to are at martinbaileyphotography.com, so do drop by and take a look. I'll be back next week with another episode, but in the meantime, you take care and have a great week, whatever you're doing. Bye bye.